Hiya, welcome back to the NOTCAST. It is 26th of August 2024, number 403. Today I am going to be talking about the Nirvana legacy. And that sounds a bit strange when you think about it like that, but about their posthumous discography and what's happened since the band ceased to exist. I have not done one of these for a couple of weeks because I've been poorly. I had COVID. I think everyone and their dog had COVID. Just pointing out, I was feeling really tired, really lethargic, that's the word. Generally sleepy, yawny, dopey, grumpy, sneezy, and titch, or whatever they're called, the seven dwarfs. And really going to be talking about what happened with Nirvana and the end of the band. So the last time I did one of these, I was talking about I got to the point where I was just starting to talk about the Utero tour, which I kind of skipped because, well, I could, really, is the short answer. And also, the vast majority of the band's releases after In Utero have not been new studio material. It's been live stuff, lots and lots and lots of live stuff. And of course, that all comes about because Kurt died on about the 6th of April, 1994, I mean. And I've read the books, especially Everett True's The True Story, and have some thoughts about that. I think if you become, I kind of seen this happen to a couple of people, is that when you become kind of popular, well-known, famous, or whatever it is, you kind of get a little bit removed from reality. Not necessarily that you want to be, it's just people suddenly have a perception of you. Everyone has a relationship with you, and you don't have a clue who all of these people are. So everyone that buys a ticket, everyone that buys a record, has a relationship with a public figure that the public figure is probably 100% oblivious about the vast majority of the time. And you know, this happened the other day when I saw James, the band. Somebody shouted out, "I love you" to Tim Booth, and it's like, yeah, but it's not love the idea of me. Or when I saw The Cure actually in 1992, and somebody shouted to Robert, "I love you, Robert." And he's like, "You can't love me. You don't know who I am. I'm just a guy on a stage. So the version of that person that exists is not the version of the person that's real." And so when you start to have a relationship with famous people, like every record in my collection I've got a relationship with in some form, and that becomes a disconnect between reality, and reality gets really bendy and squishy when you think about it in those sense. There's a sense of losing touch with who you were or who you are. There's a sense of being separated from people that you used to know, because those people think, "Oh, he's famous now, he doesn't want to hang out with me." And it's like, no, you're still my friends. I just have a successful job, and there was also a sense of Nirvana being turned into almost a band name or a brand name that effectively fronted a solo act. Now that sounds really, really weird. Obviously, some solo acts are band names. LCD Sound System were, Nine Inch Nails were, whomever is, if it's me and your granny on bongos, it's the Fall, those kind of situations. But also you have the point where Kurt renegotiated deals. So it wasn't three people writing together. He was writing the songs and the other people getting like 5% of the publishing as opposed to 33%. And there were also personal things going on, drug addictions, and a rumour that Courtney Love was cheating on him, which I don't know if it's true or not. I don't particularly care. But obviously, if you spent all your life necessarily in perhaps unhappy relationships, and then you find yourself in one that you think is quite good and makes you happy, suddenly have that relationship kind of fracture. And I've been in that situation where I was with somebody and it came to light that they were lying to me egregiously and very, hey, that's an inappropriate laugh there. They were lying to me and seeing someone else. And you kind of think, well, your world's caved in and collapsed a little bit. And you end up kind of having to rethink, what's my life going to be? What's going to happen in that? And there was a suicide attempt in Rome, and finally a successful suicide in Seattle on the 6th of April. And the band stopped touring in the middle of that, so they played, I think, the last show in Munich in 1994, 1st, 2nd of March, I think, and they were due to still play Europe. So the night that his body was found, I think I was due to see them at Brixton, or maybe that week. And then there were shows that were planned for Japan, South Africa, Australia, the Lollapalooza tour in America. All of that came to an end. And suddenly there was a void where Nirvana used to be. And into that void came a huge amount of bootleg and unofficial live releases that Nirvana had to then tackle quite quickly. The first and most obvious one of those, released in late 1994, was the Nirvana Unplugged in New York release. This is, in my opinion, a definitive Nirvana record. It features 14 songs and a number of unreleased songs, cover versions of the Meat Puppets, Jesus Doesn't Want Me for a Sunbeam, Plateau, Oh Me, Lake of Fire, Lead Belly's Where Did You Sleep Last Night, and David Bowie's The Man Who Sold the World. This is a really great album, and it would have been a great album whether Kurt had lived or died, truth be told. It should have come out. It was just a great record. Here's a clear vinyl edition of it. Not sure if that's official or not. Probably not, knowing my look. No, actually a kind of weird cloudy colour. But you listen to it and it puts everything else into a perspective, because you think, well, on one hand, Nirvana were this huge, shouty kind of noise rock band, and what an amazing noise rock band they were. That sound that came out of them is astonishing for, you know, four guys, or three guys, depending on your point of view. And then at the heart of it, all of that is just packaging, it's texture, it's rapping, because if you listen to the songs that are on here, About a Girl, Come As You Are, Penny Royalty, for example, and you just go, that's the thing, that's the hook. In the way that, for example, there are some artists I prefer to see them perform solo than I prefer to see them perform in a band configuration. I prefer to see Frank Turner as a solo artist than I do as in a band configuration. I really love the Twilight Sad, and I love seeing their acoustic shows, and I love seeing their band shows as well. But with this, I think this stripped away the packaging, the artifice, the wrapping and the barnacles, the armour, and you heard what it really was. You know, a great song is a great song no matter what configuration it's in or what form it's delivered in, whether it's a crappy rehearsal recording studio or a version with an orchestra. What matters is the song itself. And this was massively bootlegged, so there are a couple of songs that weren't on the TV broadcast, for example. I can't remember which ones. The world was suddenly flooded with Nirvana Unplugged bootleg CDs. And the band thought, or more correctly, Chris and Dave, decided that they were going to release a live album in 1994 called, I think it's Verse, Chorus, Verse. There's a double CD. Side 1 was going to be Unplugged, and Side 2 was going to be a compilation of live material, or CD 2 was going to be a compilation of live material. That compilation of live material didn't happen. There's still a few songs which are unreleased from that original version. Promo tapes of it circulated, but in 1996 that was then converted into what became From the Muddy Banks of the Whisker, the live album released in 1996, which, truth be told, I don't really know why this album exists. It's not very good. Now that sounds awful, but it's a compilation of live shows and lineups across multiple years running from 1999 to 1994. And I really would have thought that actually if you're going to release a live album, you release one show, or you release a live album recorded on one tour that gives you a feeling of what the actual live show is like, as opposed to a show that never happened. Otherwise, you end up in the point where you're like Queen's VHS live through the years, which cuts between a drum solo at, I don't think it's a London Rainbow, and goes through to Earl's Court in 75, and then suddenly you're at Wembley Stadium in 86, and it's like, that never happened. That's like a mega mix of live stuff. I'm quite strict about live albums. I like them to represent the shows as played, the songs in the order that they were played by the lineup that was played, with but minimal, tasteful overdubbing, and no obvious difference between lineups, performances, or configurations. I always saw From the Muddy Banks of the Whisker as effectively just a live compilation of offcuts. It's not a live album. A little frustrating as a Nirvana fan, but don't worry, because in the combination of events after Kurt's death, Well, nature abhors a vacuum, as you probably know, and it filled it with lots and lots of live releases. First up and most frequently bootlegged was the Outcesticide CD, which was out mid 1994, featuring early demo tapes, and the 7 tracks I think recorded at Reciprocal in 1988, tracks that were recorded for Sub Pop in 1990. Oh dear, should have thought about this, had more caffeine. Then studio outtakes, demos, compilation album appearances, those type of things. If you were a Nirvana fan in 1994, this was your essential gateway CD to all the rare stuff that you hadn't heard. Other bootleg CDs, well, you got The Needle and the Damage Done 2, the tastefully titled Outcesticide 2, that again features extra studio tracks, etc., etc. Not all of it particularly good, starting to get a little bit dodge. Then Outcesticide 3, again tastefully described with a cover shot of Kurt with a gun and the final solution. And again, lots of live stuff that's not particularly good, lots of just rubbish, really. But you know, in the days before you had any official box sets, that was the stuff you went for. That was the stuff you bought. And of course, the rape and pillage of the vaults carried on. You had it also lots and lots of bootlegs of the Seattle show, which was, hang on a second, I'm going to bring this out, officially released as the Live and Loud set in 2013, including, of course, Feels Like the First Time, which is the 10 songs from the TV broadcast, plus some songs from Melbourne in 1992. Basically, there's loads and loads of Nirvana bootlegs, and they're all pretty good because Nirvana didn't really play very many bad shows. They played, was it Buenos Aires in 1993? It was atrociously bad, apparently, but everything else was mostly pretty good. The definitive, in my opinion, live bootleg that you do need to get is this, Live in Rome, 22/2/1994. So this was recorded at Rome and broadcast on the radio. It's the final Nirvana show that's circulating in radio quality. It's a good show. It's an average show in many respects. The performances is not exceptional. The set list is not vastly different from anything else, but it is probably the last Nirvana show that exists in great quality that people can hear readily, and it's really good. So if you're going to get a Nirvana bootleg, Rome 1994 is absolutely the one to get. And if not, well, you can always watch it on YouTube and listen to it, decide whether you like it. Nirvana's bootlegography is enormous. It's almost as big as the number of reissues that they've done. And we had loads and loads of reissues that happened over time. Between 1996 and 2002, the whole thing was stuck into what's politely called rights hell, where people were working out, well, who owned the rights to what and how is it going to work? The first time this appeared to crack a little bit was 2002's Nirvana compilation. This features most of the singles presented in order from About a Girl all the way through to the last completed Nirvana studio recording, You Know You're Right. Originally only released on CD. It did get a vinyl issue. Can't remember when, 2015 I think, as a single LP and a double LP. If you're one of those people that absolutely has to have a double LP, then you can have it. But here is the Nirvana compilation. So this is a great entry point to go with. It's got all of the singles in order pretty much, apart from You Know You're Right. I think it's got the studio version of Being a Son that isn't on any other release, and it's got Sliver, the studio version of that, and it does have The Man Who Sold the World on it as well. This is the first signs that things were starting to thaw in Nirvana world in terms of posthumous releases. The dam cracked open in 2000, and I think it's 2004. We got Nirvana, Nevermind, the classic albums. So classic albums was a series of DVDs. In the days when people still bought DVDs, they'd take the master tapes, listen to them, talk about the making of the album, and create a mini documentary focused upon each one of the records. This is not particularly great. Apparently, it tells you that it's got a full live performance of Polly, which is why you should buy it. Really? Buying a DVD just for a live performance of one song? Not good enough, frankly. The music is why we're here. Although in 1994, to go alongside MTV Unplugged, Live Tonight sold out, got a VHS, and here's the later DVD release. The DVD would like you to know that there is previously unreleased live footage of 5 songs from Amsterdam in 1991. Again, parceling out tiny bits of a full live show. You just get frustrated by the fact that you can only see 5 songs from the show as opposed to the full 17 song set. Live Tonight sold out is okay. It's a bizarre roller coaster ride of random camcorder footage, live footage, and other assorted bits and pieces that doesn't really give you the sense of what a Nirvana live show is like. It gives you a sense of what it's like to be strapped to the front of a fast-moving train as it hurtles down the tracks of fame, fortune, and absolute stupidity. Kurt apparently had worked on a significantly nearly completed edit of this. You can kind of see where the edit comes to a close. There's a montage, gotta have a montage, and then there's some live footage which wraps it up. It feels like it putters out towards the end and doesn't have a full ending. What else do we have? Yes, so 2004 saw the release of the Nirvana With the Lights Out box set. Now, I've used this in previous episodes. Effectively, these are bonus discs to go with each one of the albums. So 3 audio CDs and a DVD. Each one of the audio CDs is linked to a period of the band. So obviously Bleach, Nevermind, In Utero, and the DVD that features a huge chunk of stuff. The DVD is pretty good. Features a rehearsal at Chris' mother's house, promo videos, some live stuff from the OK Hotel in Seattle and the Paramount Theatre, and some other bits and bobs. But the studio stuff is where it's really at. So you've got, all the demos, rough mixes and things like that, but only 1 CD per album. Now, if you were going to plug out expanded versions of the albums, these CDs are effectively your bonus discs. So worth getting, worth listening to. Absolutely not essential to your Nirvana collection, but it does feature Do Re Mi as well, the studio recording of the second of the Post in Utero songs, and that's the only place to get them. There was a compilation called, I think, Sliver, which had 3 previously unreleased songs. I didn't buy that because they were just, what's the point? Those are the only 3 unreleased studio Nirvana recordings that I don't have officially, because there's no point buying an extra CD. Stick them on the bloody CDs to start off with. And around about this time, 2002, 2004, the Nirvana industry really took off. We had the Kurt Cobain journals, which I have a story about the journals. This was massively remaindered, actually, so I think you could pick it up in charity shops now for about £2. Or you could have picked it up in the works for like £3 not long after it came out. This is fascinating, but it feels a bit ghoulish. It feels a bit exploitative. And I wrote a review for a website some of you may have heard of called Drowned in Sound back in 2003 or so when this came out. And it annoyed Chris so much he emailed me, and I can't really remember what was in the email. But I did reply back, and I said, if you think I've got this wrong, you have an opportunity to correct it by pulling your own side of the story forward. And he said, well, I've been asked and I don't want to do it. All right, well, in the absence of your version of events, people have to reach conclusions on the basis of the available evidence. And the available evidence is, I thought journals was distasteful. It was ghoulish. It was not presented in a way that had much in the way of sense. It was, I mean, it's okay, but it is just looking through, some guy's scribble, and none of it was ever meant to be immortalized or memorialized or certainly when Kurt was writing in a last attempt to make it clear that this girl did not have Down syndrome or mongoloid, there is proof that Lakeside High School does not or ever has had the facilities to teach those chronic retards. That's page 25, by the way. Nobody ever thought that when he wrote that in his high school journal in about 1986, that I was going to be reading it out on YouTube in about 30, 40 years later. You know, this is stuff this is like if someone took my really bad unreleased songs. I've mentioned a song called Truckers in Space, which is appallingly bad. Somebody took that and went, look, a previously unseen song. And we're like, crap in it. Like, yeah, you shouldn't be seeing this. And around about the same time, the book industry also kicked off with Cobain Unseen by Charles Cross. Charles Cross wrote, I think, Heavier Than Heaven, the Courtney sanctioned biography of the band. And this is a heavily water damaged copy, hence vastly reduced to about £1 when I bought it. It says damp, delivered, damaged, and this is, you know, the secret museum of Kurt. Flyers and certificates and photos. Some of it's quite good, but again, I'm not necessarily sure why it necessarily feels that you need to reproduce a painting of a lighthouse by Kurt or there. I mean, what are you going to do? Is someone going to take that out and stick that in a frame? I mean, maybe I'm the wrong person to ask, because as far as I'm concerned, this is merchandising. It's not particularly great merchandising. It's not particularly thoughtful. It's a coffee table book. It's designed to be read at a coffee table one day whilst you listen to your tasteful Nevermind box set, which hadn't yet come out, of course, and you kind of sit there and go, well, isn't that nice? Here's a, you know, a Nirvana flyer from a show, but it isn't. It's a reproduction. And the world's full of books like this. Here's a, you know, a set of Nirvana stickers, which were handwritten by Kurt but have been reproduced. I kind of go, well, sure, that's okay, I guess, but is it necessary to have you know, a reprint of the pencil written lyrics that Smells Like Teen Spirit? Is it necessary to have any of this stuff? No, it's merchandising, and I treated it that way, which is that I was happy to buy it when it was cheap. I certainly wasn't going to pay an enormous amount of money to have a fucking fold out poster of Kurt's fucking shoes. And that's where I start to get a little bit, because to me it's all about the music. Everything else is nonsense. It's about the emotional connection that we have to the music, and it's about the feelings that we have around the music. Nothing else really matters, especially not a reproduction kind of photo face mask of something or other. And I mean, what is this nonsense? It really is. I just don't get it. Yeah, I've got it, but I don't get it. I just don't. So there you are. Yeah, absolutely. Oh dear. So I found being a Nirvana fan in this period quite depressing, really. I certainly wasn't going to encourage the industry by paying full price for this crap. I mean, calling it crap is very harsh, but it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary, and it felt exploitative and a little bit tasteless. 2008 saw the release of About a Son, this time taking 25 hours of recorded interviews with Kurt as he talks about his life story, stitched together into about a 90-minute narrative about his life over generic stock footage of Aberdeen and Washington and Seattle and other places in America. It's a collage, it's a montage, it's a YouTube video made flesh. I mean, some people say, Washington Post would like you to know that it makes you feel like you are Kurt Cobain, and it won the best documentary at the Denver Film Festival and was selected for the Spirit Awards, South by Southwest, Rome and Toronto. But it's not, I don't get it. I do not get this. It just feels a little weird and a little wrong. About 2007, the band, I think, started to get a more mature approach to dealing with their legacy. I don't know what happened, I don't know what changed, but we started to see more Nirvana live releases and official releases, which is frankly long overdue. Unplugged in New York finally got a release, this time on DVD with a full 14 songs plus 5 songs from the rehearsals. on a DVD, and this meant that all of your taped copies on VHS off MTV's Unplugged could now finally at long last be retired. Why this wasn't stuck out the same day as the Unplugged CD, I have no idea, but there you are. Again, it felt like it was an open goal that was missed. In 2009, we had Live at Reading got a release, so the first official Nirvana full-length live show to be released on CD and DVD. As I mentioned before, here is the CD and DVD edition of it that features, although cropped out there, the Wonder Stuff, a band I'm very familiar with on that. About 2019, 2017, to kick off with the vinyl fetishisation of the format, Live at Reading finally got a release. This time as a standalone on vinyl, 2009 it says here. Gatefold sleeve, handily missing out apart from one shot, the guy that was dancing on stage with them, and in transparent inner sleeves there. This is a really great live album. It's a complete set list. It's really fun. Long overdue. Long overdue. For many years I listened to the recording of the BBC broadcast of this show, and which was mixed. It's a different mix, the BBC recording, to the Live at Reading release, but it is absolutely essential if you're a Nirvana fan to own this. Perhaps some of the other releases aren't perhaps quite as essential, but still necessary. 2011, so the Nevermind Deluxe Edition. This is the 2 CD version featuring B-sides, live tracks, smart studio sessions, and the boombox rehearsals, BBC sessions as well of Drain You and Something in the Way. The other option was to pay about £80 and to have a massive, huge 4-disc set with a book, which I didn't want, on the grounds that £80 is an enormous amount of money, and it still is. So, just for an album, which, bearing in mind that, I couldn't necessarily afford to see shows on the Nevermind tour for £7, let alone spend £80 on a box set 20 years later. Luckily, the DVD that was included, Live at the Paramount, got a separate standalone release in 2011. So I bought that instead, because then the only thing you didn't get for your 50 quid or your 80 quid is a CD of Live at the Paramount, which is fine because Live at the Paramount had been bootlegged substantially, and I have 2 of those. I have the Happy Halloween Live at the Seattle Paramount Theatre single disc version, and then later on I bought the 2-disc version of it. This was about £13 because there's lots of cheap bootlegs out there. Now this features the unremixed soundtrack, so the CD and DVD and the official release features a remixed version of it taken from the multi-tracks that was remixed later on. This is the radio broadcast taken direct from the board, 1991. In my opinion, a slightly more authentic Nirvana live experience. And again, this will cost you about £13-14 on Discogs. So why would you want to pay £40 for the official remix when you could get the official radio broadcast considerably cheaper? The Nirvana also stuck a whole bunch of B-sides from their Del Mar, California show on December the 28th, 1991 onto various B-sides. Broadcast it on the radio, just buy the album. Again, £13-14 on Discogs. That's better, more affordable. And you can also get the Seattle 1993 broadcast, the 10 tracks of that, which in 2013 we got in Utero as a 20th anniversary edition. 2 CDs or a super mega box set, again with 4 discs on it. The 2 CDs feature the album, a bunch of B-sides, some new mixes, so new mixes of Moist Vagina, Sappy, I Hate Myself and I Want to Die, and original Albini mixes of Heart Shaped Box and All Apologies, alongside a 2013 remix of the album by Steve Albini, plus demos. Plump out the set, we had Nirvana Live and Loud, live at the Seattle Pier 48 in December 1993, released on DVD, and on the Matt Fancy Disc version, a CD of that full set, which of course if you have a DVD audio extractor, you can just rip the sound out of your DVD and turn it into MP3s. And there you have it. If, like me, you don't fancy spending £80 on yet another box set, God knows what I'm about to show you, you can also buy the Seattle Live and Loud Feels Like the First Time double LP bootleg that features the 10 songs as originally broadcast by MTV in 1993. So really, you get that, and that's what, £10 if you look carefully and nicely in the right places. Considerably cheaper than buying your super fancy pants box set or spending £50 to get the official Live at Seattle double LP. Somewhat surprisingly, after this, things got a little bit quiet. Not for a huge amount of time, but for a little bit of time. 2014 or thereabouts featured Cobain, Montage of Heck. This is a film by Brett Morgan. Brett Morgan has also done the Moon Age Daydream documentary about David Bowie, which is frustrating and brilliant at the same time, especially considering they released the Blu-ray and then they stuck a super fancy pants Criterion edition out for a stupid money not long after. Montage of Heck is a compilation of all the available existing recordings of previously unreleased live stuff, studio stuff, him reading into his diary. He gave us the world's first and so far only Kurt Cobain solo album, Montage of Heck, the home recordings, which was released in 2015. This deluxe edition has 31 tracks on it, including various demos, cover version of the Beatles and I Love Her, and so on and so forth. It's a fascinating listen, but it's not necessary. It's not fun. It's more like just listening to a compilation tape taken from all of his tapes. If you had access to all of his tapes, and then you kind of think, is this the best stuff, or is this just a random selection? What else is in there that's worth listening to? I mean, I'm the guy that will listen to every fart of a studio recording session, no matter how boring it is. I've got 8 LPs of, well, no, actually it's not 8 LPs, is it? It's 4 LPs and 3 CDs of U2's Salome, which features, amongst many other things, approximately 80 minutes of random drum tracks. And I've listened to them. Have I liked them? No. But I've listened to them, I've given them a shot. And Montage of Heck is effectively that. It's just a montage of stuff. It's Kurt telling his story using interviews, narration, fragments from his cassettes, rebuilt animation, home footage, live footage, studio footage, and telling a story which perhaps was never meant to be told. So it's like if someone tried to create an autobiography of my life just using YouTube videos and random photographs and bits that I'd written. You could tell the story, but it would only be the story that I would want to tell. And it feels a very singular release. It feels like it's very focused on just telling the story that Cobain wants you to hear, as opposed to the story that perhaps coulda, woulda, shoulda happened. The Nirvana industry never stops, ever. It's like the Terminator. It cannot and will not be stopped ever. Even late into the 2000s, bootleg CDs were being issued. This one, Super Golden Radio Show, apparently recorded in Oregon on the 14th of December 1993, mocked up to look like a radio transcription disc, a radio broadcast. It absolutely isn't. This is an audience recording. Luckily, I only paid £1 for it. But again, you think of it and go, oh, that must be good. It says for radio broadcast only, and then you listen to it and go, you fooled me. It isn't, is it? It isn't anything. It's just a bootleg pretending to be, something which it clearly isn't. 2014, and the industry rolls on still. It sees the release of, at last, Penny Royalty, the final single, which was due to be released in 1994 but got cancelled. This is the remix of Penny Royalty by Scott Litt, and then backed with I Hate Myself and I Want to Die. It says LP version, but there's no other version of it out. That means that this is perhaps the great lost Nirvana single, only released on vinyl officially, I think. May have been released on CD as a promo in Germany. Those copies are about £4,000. So unsurprisingly, I haven't got one of those because that's a rip-off. But I did buy it. But despite what you might think, I don't buy absolutely everything. And I don't feel the need to own absolutely everything. Despite what I'm just about to show you, which is in 2021. the 30th anniversary edition of Nevermind came out. Here is the CD edition. It features 5 CDs, the album, 4 live shows, and a Blu-ray recorded at Amsterdam at the Paradiso, which is, by the way, a fantastic venue, the Paradiso. Converted church, absolutely lovely. But this features AI remixes of radio broadcasts. So live in Amsterdam, live at the Del Mar, which I showed you here, live at Triple J, which I showed you on the Feels Like the First Time, and live at the Tokyo, I think it's this one, live at Tokyo Sun Plaza. No, this is actually Club Quattro, Nagoya, Japan. So radio broadcasts, all of which have been heavily bootlegged and available on vinyl. So if you don't want to pay £300 or £200 for the 8 LP set of Nirvana's Nevermind, you can always pick up all the individual shows for about £14 each. Or you could wait until this box set is discounted on Amazon. This cost me £44. And for that, I got 4 live shows, plus a Blu-ray, plus a book, plus an album I already owned many, many times over. Let's have a look at the 30th anniversary edition of Nevermind. The packaging is okay. It's got that photo in it. I'm not quite sure why it's got that photo in it. It's got more photos. Very little in the way of biographical information or explanatory text. And I don't understand this, because these are really just coffee table books of photographs. And I don't like coffee table books of photographs. I like music. If I could buy a small repack version of this, it was much smaller, cost much less money, and just had the CDs and the DVD in, I'd go for it every time. But if the only way to own this is to own that, I'll wait for unsold stock to be discounted on Amazon, because that's how I roll, baby. And there you go. Again, photos of people doing things. And then finally, right at the back, your 6 discs. So you've got, let me just quickly check, Nevermind, Amsterdam, Madrid, or wherever it is, Del Mar, I think, Japan, whatever CD 5 is. Let me just quickly check. CD 5 is Tokyo, Australia, and then on Blu-ray here, the film of Nirvana live at Amsterdam Paradiso, which again, this stuff could have come out as individual live releases, much cheaper than on a £100 CD DVD box set. Unsurprisingly, didn't sell that many copies. They made more than they sold. And talking of things that they made more than they sold of, and I was mocking this in April, but then when I was mocking it in April, it cost £200. I got a copy for £60 off Amazon, Nirvana's In Utero 30th anniversary box set. So this is where I'm going to be quite blunt about it. This box set is completely unnecessary. It features the album, it features some B-sides, it features 2 live shows, plus some little extracts from Rome, Springfield and New York. And if you think about it, this is a music delivery system, despite what the extended and expensive packaging is. So you could have put Rome on here, you could have put Springfield on here, and you could have put New York on here. You would have ended up with 5 live shows instead of 2 live shows. You would have ended up with 8 discs instead of 5. And then an 8-disc proposition for that much money is considerably more attractive than a 5-disc proposition, because when I buy box sets, I buy the music. I don't buy the packaging. I don't buy the gumph. I don't give a shit about it. I care about the music. The music is the thing I have the relationship to. Everything else, including the t-shirts, yes, I'm wearing a Nirvana t-shirt, is absolutely tangential. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. What matters is how the music speaks to you and connects to you. So the In Utero box set is frustratingly expensive and incomplete. The other way that it's incomplete is that it is lacking a huge amount of studio offcuts. And the reason it is lacking a huge amount of studio material which exists is because Paramount, or whoever it was maybe Universal, that had the archives that carried all the unreleased material by Soundgarden and Frank Sinatra and Nirvana and all these people that are dead, stuck them in an archive in the middle of an amusement park, in the middle of a city centre, without adequate fireproofing or without adequate fire extinguishing equipment or fire alarms, which means that unique, unrepeatable performances by Nirvana, an alternate version of this album, and all the studio jams that went with it in their original forms, were destroyed through incompetence and stupidity and cheapskatery. And it is mind-boggling and insulting that people didn't lose their jobs, because that is your assets. That's the thing you're paying for. It's like, for example, the most recent version of the film Caligula that's been released features absolutely no takes from the original version, because they went back into the original versions, the original filming material, and they dug out new versions of absolutely everything. Basically, I think we've heard every single bit of Nirvana from In Utero that we will ever get to hear now, because the rest of it was destroyed through incompetence and stupidity by people that didn't know or were cheapskates on fire prevention and detection systems. And that means that you and I have lost the access to listen to material that will never be heard by Soundgarden and Nirvana and Frank Sinatra and all these other artists, because somebody decided to save a few quid on fire extinguishers. The fucking morons. So when Nirvana come to releasing In Utero for its 30th anniversary, they have to go back and use some Beatles get back technical jiggery pokery to reverse engineer stereo soundboard mixing disc tapes of the shows at the Great Western Forum in Los Angeles and Seattle Center on January the 7th, 1994. And in order to plump up to the absurd price point that they have, instead of putting, alternate studio takes of material, they have to go to their own official bootlegs and remix them at great cost. Let's go into this box set and see if it's worth it. The short answer is no, by the way. So the first thing that you get is you get some kind of acrylic version of the angel on the front of In Utero. Would never have bought this. Don't see the point of it. But it's in the box set, so I might as well have it. You get what's this now? You get a book of memorabilia and general assorted crap. Let's go in here and see what's in here, shall we? Oh, okay. So, the 30th anniversary edition contains, and you have to go into your plastic folder now. Open your plastic folder, that's complicated. You get an all-access pass for a tour that you couldn't get to because the singer was accountably dead. You get a bunch of reproduction backstage passes, local crew. I'm guessing that's after show. That's the photo, and that is the press pass there. You get a couple of reproduction tickets. How much were these? Wow, a grand total of $19 and $19.50. I wish we went back to, even inflation adjusted, that would be about 57 quid these days. You get, other things. You get a flyer for the show at the Great Western Forum in LA. You get a flyer for the show at the Seattle Arena. You get a poster for the Forum. You get some kind of weird standee is the word that they would put in record shops. I remember seeing these in record shops. You get a bit of art, and you get just a 12 by 12 there in case you want to pretend that you've got the vinyl editions. And you get apparently a Nirvana fanzine, but really it's just a book, because fanzines have writings and things in. They don't just have photos, because otherwise it's just photocopied photos, isn't it? What's the point? I miss fanzine culture. I really do. But these days we all have Twitter and Reddit and bullshit like that. Further inside, it's a book. Now I'm guessing, without having looked at this for a few months, it's going to be a bunch of photos of guys, and there's not going to be any explanatory text in there. Well, so far, no, okay. Yeah, what do you get? Hang on, let's just go through this and see if this is any good. So, photos. Oh, now more photos. This is exciting, isn't it, kids? Pop crazed youngsters. Is there anything in here that you'd actually want to read? Well, I think there is, but at the same point, I think you don't actually get a chance to read it, because you get part of a letter, but you don't get to see all the letter there. That's from the band, from the band's manager, that how the band want to travel on rocket-powered sleds. Apparently, you get some details about the recording, some photographs of the reel-to-reel tapes. You get 1 page of the infamous letter that Steve Albini wrote to the band, that convinced the band that they should make a record with him. God, I wish we got the rest of that. You can see the text online, but that's not the point, is it? That is not the bloody point. And then you get more photos, and you get 2 live shows and some B-sides. These live shows on here are okay. They're just okay. They're pretty good, you know. They were never meant to be memorialised forever into live releases umpteen years later. That was never the plan. The plan was that these would sit as mini discs or cassettes in someone in the band's drawers forever, with just a reference copy, just in case anybody ever wanted to listen to them ever again. There was no intention at the time of taking these raw two-channel left-right stereo feeds and turning them into an expensive CD box set 30 years later. The idea was absurd, and it's still absurd today. But every anniversary needs a box set. Nirvana as much as anybody else's. So let's look in the pile of craps and see what we've got that's left over. Nirvana's legacy post-death is okay, but, and but is a big word, it's doing a lot of heavy lifting in this. It's okay, but it is more designed around extracting money from us as opposed to anything else. Some people close to the band can say it's a labour of love, and sure, there's a lot of love in this. There's a lot of care, but at the same point, there's not always a huge amount of taste. The shows have been presented in order of what they happen, but they're incomplete. You don't have Springfield, you don't have New York, you don't have Rome, for example. Luckily, thanks to the glory of bootleggers, we have Rome. But what you're buying is music, and they forget that. They think what you're buying is fripperies and nonsense. So for the Nirvana posthumous discography, I'd be very, very selective if I were you. It depends how deep you want to go. Don't feel under the obligation to buy anything, and definitely don't feel under the obligation to pay full price for anything either, because they've made too many of some of these box sets and they will be reduced. So keep your eyes and ears open and buy those. But in the meantime, from me and from the ridiculous kind of angel here, it's going to be good night and see you soon. Hopefully I'll be doing more of these as I feel better and hopefully appear less grumpy throughout all of them. So see you soon, and take care of yourselves and each other, as Jerry Springer would say. All right, bye. Oh, hang on, I've got to switch this off, haven't I? Thank you and good night.